Now, Toni, I'm really excited about our guests today. We have Heidi Prosser and Kenny Stevens of Prosser Stevens Real Estate Investments. And we've worked with these guys for a very long time. They're experts in their field. Kenny Stevens is a graduate of California, Berkeley, UC Berkeley.
That's right.
That's right. And Heidi Stevens, you're also, where are you? What did you graduate from?
Well, we're not married yet, so it's Heidi Prosser.
Not yet, I forgot.
I graduated from UCLA.
UCLA, that's right. And you both started your careers at Marcus & Millichap, which is a highly respected commercial real estate brokerage, right?
That's correct. We did. Heidi started about 8 years ago, and I started about 11 years ago, and we've been selling apartment buildings the entire time. Neither of us has ever been involved in single family homes. We never really got involved in retail or industrial or anything like that. We always chose to specialize in multifamily apartments our entire careers.
Tell us a little bit about what you guys really do and enjoy doing.
Sure, yeah, we run a team out of the Keller Williams office, and we have a team of 5 junior agents underneath us, and we represent buyers and sellers of multifamily investment properties. We love representing clients that may own one property or they may own 10 properties. It just depends on what their needs are and what they're looking for. There's so many options when they're selling a property in terms of, like you guys talked about, the 1031 exchange or what they're going to do with that money.
So why do you guys feel multifamily real estate is a good investment?
The thing that people are looking for the most is stability. That's the main draw, I think, of multifamily properties, is that if you look over the last few years when the market really had a big downturn, a lot of other sectors like retail and like office, single family homes, as we all know, took a huge dip during that time. Apartment buildings in LA, and we're talking about in the greater LA area, apartment buildings went down a little bit in 2009 and 2010, but right now they're almost back at where they were back at the top of the market. So there's a lot more stability there, which people obviously are attracted to when you're talking about a lot of risk in the stock market, virtually no return on your investment if you put it into the bank, into any kind of a savings account. So you're getting no return there. So if people can find a 4, 5, 6% return on their money on a property that's not going to be going down in value and is probably going to be going up in value, that's what people are looking for.
So what kind of responsibilities do you have as the owner of the building? The
owner's responsibility is to maintain the building. I mean, the city is going to come down on you, whatever city that the building happens to be on. If you're not maintaining the building, the tenants are going to complain to the city's going to come down on you. So that is something that is the landlord's responsibility. A lot of people think, though, that it's very time consuming and it's a lot of effort to be the owner of a building, because you're going to have to deal with the tenants calling you at midnight telling you that their toilet's backed up and you got to come down and fix it.
Right.
The reality is that most of our clients employ property management companies to manage their property.
Yeah.
And they generally charge around 5% of the gross income to manage your property for you. And with that, yes, it takes a little bit of the profit off, but you get the peace of mind of knowing that if that call comes in at midnight, it's not going to you, it's going to the property management company who's going to take care of it for you.
Right.
I want you guys to share the story about when Heidi took Kenny's client. You remember that client?
Sure.
Yeah, I want you to share that story. This is funny that you guys end up in partnership today. This is great. Share this story with us.
Yeah, 8 years ago, I was just a young black rat out of college, starting in a pretty tough commercial real estate environment, and I was just working my buns off and making calls all day long, and ended up going into escrow on a property with one of Kenny's clients. And so this client calls Kenny and asks him, do you think this is a good deal? He says yes. He wouldn't tell him who it was from, but he knew the company, and we were working at the same company at the time. So Kenny thought, who is this person? And he kept just thinking, who is this girl that's taking my clients? And now, today, he's actually one of our best clients and dear friends.
Oh.
And it always kind of works itself out. But
yeah, they become business colleagues, and in the meantime, now they've merged their two companies. At first, it was Heidi Prosser Investment Group, and then it was Kenny Stevens Investment Group, and now we've got Prosser Stevens,
There you
right?
go.
So that's exciting.
Kenny, you're
I
a
just
little
wanted to
quiet
share
over there.
that.
It doesn't have to be that embarrassing.
No comment.
We do a lot of residential real estate, but how does that differ from this type of transaction? Because in residential real estate, you do an inspection and you do an appraisal, and then you move in or you rent it out or whatever you're going to do. But on these big, massive buildings, how does that process work?
The process is definitely different. First of all, the escrows, the entire process takes a longer time. We rarely close an escrow in less than 60 days. Most of the time it's anywhere from 60 to 90 days for the whole process, whereas residential escrows can be closed in 30 days or less, generally. Part of the reason for that is that the loan process takes longer. There's a lot more documentation involved in the loan and in the lending than there in multifamily than there is in residential. So the loan itself is going to take anywhere from 60 days to 70 days just to get the loan. There's a lot of due diligence materials. When you buy a house, you do your inspection on the house, and that's pretty much all there is to it. If you like what you see, then you buy the house. When you're buying a building that's, let's say, 20 units or 30 units, that means you have 20 or 30 leases to look through, every single one of those leases. And you want to look at the utility bills because you want to see what your expenses are going to be as the owner of this property. You want to see what their insurance statements have looked like. You want to see, there's a lot more information that you're going to look over. So it's definitely a much more detailed transaction, which is another reason why you really need a broker who specializes in multifamily apartment buildings, who knows what they're looking for when they're looking through all these materials. Your average residential agent doesn't know what to look for and could get you into trouble during the escrow if they don't know what they're doing.
When you're doing the financing on these buildings, what is typically the down payment that's required from a buyer?
We're talking about 5 units plus, because that's where we get into the arena of multifamily properties. And the minimum that you're going to find out there is 25%. 25% down, and that's the absolute minimum, and that's pretty rare these days.
Do they base these loans primarily on the building itself and the income that's generated, or do you have to have some skin in the game financially yourself with a paycheck and all that?
That's a great question, Jason. I just wanted to mention that. Most lenders are actually looking at the building, and while the person buying the property needs to have strong credit and whatnot, they're really underwriting the building. So getting a pre-approval is not necessarily helpful in this type of transaction. They're really looking.
So you may not necessarily have to have any income per se if the building is paying for itself?
As long as you have the down payment,
Right.
and the building's running and it's making income, then yeah, that would work.
Okay.
You guys really, I mean, although you have a huge pool of buyers, you really specialize in helping sellers sell their buildings that they've just been tired of holding on to, they're tired of maintaining, they don't really know what it's worth today, and you guys have a massive sales team that is really helping people. I heard you mention, and maybe you can talk about it a little bit, about one multifamily building that you sold before you even had a chance to list it, just because of your sheer pool of buyers. So.
We had a property that we had met with the sellers. The sellers were representing a trust, so it was their, they had a fiduciary duty to the trust. They interviewed 5 or 6 or 7 different real estate brokers to list this property for them. They chose us to list the property for them. We had an ongoing relationship for years, and we had several offers before we even got the property out on the market. We had several offers on it. The seller was perfectly happy with the offers that were on the table, so we ended up taking one of those buyers and closing escrow in about 60 days. The property never even went on the market. It's a really, really, really hot real estate market right now. It's a great time to sell, and a lot of sellers are still thinking that things are slow like they were in 2009 and 2010, and that's not the case at all. An investor can borrow money at 4% interest fixed for 5 years right now, which, if you get a property that's bringing in 5 or 6% and you're only borrowing 4% on it, it makes sense. That's called positive leverage.
Right.
Where can I find these properties for sale?
When you have people who are involved, or brokers who are involved in the multifamily profession, like Prosser Stevens Real Estate, we deal with buyers and sellers all the time who are willing to sell their properties, but they're not listed, they're not out there on the market. So the best way to find properties like this is to contact, you can contact us directly. Our number is 310-482-2209. That's 310-482-2209. That gets in touch with us directly to really find out what what your specific buyer criteria is, and there are properties out there that might match that may not be listed anywhere publicly.
That is really important for the listener to understand, that when you're dealing with multifamily, which is a huge, it is a major technique in real estate investment today, you are not necessarily just going to find these listings in the multiple listing service, realtor.com or Zillow or any of these sites that are available to the general public. You really have to have a relationship with the real estate professionals out here. You've really got to have an inside track. In other words, it's a really small community, and that's really important. Did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I know that, as we pass your office, you have a huge team that's always promoting your clients' properties and really exploring what buyers are out there that will be perfect for your properties that you're listing. And also, like Toni said, you have the inside scoop, so to speak, because you know what we call pocket listings, or listings that aren't actively promoted, just because you're looking for that perfect buyer and you don't want to blast it out to a bunch of uneducated agents or clients that maybe aren't a right fit for it.
I think Jason made a great point there, is when you're talking about uneducated agents, when you are looking to get into the multifamily arena, if it's not something, or even if it is something you're extremely familiar with, you want to be working with a broker who's extremely familiar with the multifamily arena and who specializes in the multifamily arena. Your typical residential agent just doesn't really know the pitfalls of a deal and doesn't know how to get the best deals that are out there. So,
right.
Whether it's us or anybody else out there, there are many very qualified multifamily property brokers out there. You should definitely seek one of us out.
Excellent. I'm really, really impressed by the operation, and I would encourage any of you that are listening to reach out to us at 888-309-9797. That's 888-309-9797. If you're a seller who's trying to determine whether or not this is a good time to sell your building or your apartment units, this is an excellent group that can support you. This has been an excellent segment, and I'm really, really happy you guys were able to join us today.
Thank you. We appreciate you having us.
Anytime, you'll be back. If you tuned in late and you'd like to go back and listen to the full show, please go to calltoni.com. That's calltoni with an i.com, and click on the previous show's link. And remember, you can always call us at our off-air number, which is 888-309-9797. That's 888-309-9797. We want to remind you that we're here every Saturday at 3 p.m. on Call Toni Real Estate Radio, KTLK AM 1150, where we're bringing you tools for positive change. We want to thank you for tuning in, and have a magical weekend.